I'm Nathan. Welcome to the Armory. So today I want to talk a little bit about first aid and having a first aid kit around wherever you go. Now, I as a concealed carrier am always carrying my pistol when I go anywhere, and that's so that if someone attacks me I can defend myself. But what's far more likely than me getting attacked is me just getting hurt, or a family member getting hurt, or me running across someone else who's hurt. Whether it be a car accident or just somebody cutting themselves with a pocket knife, opening a box or something. My son's in Cub Scouts, and boy, those little kids get injured all the time. So I use a first aid kit all the time. I've never once been in a gunfight, but I use first aid kits all the time these days. So it's important to have one around and one handy because you're going to get a lot of use out of it more than likely. Also, if you were ever to defend yourself and you won the gunfight, you might be wounded. So it's good to have it around for that too. So if you're going to carry a firearm or drive a car, I suggest you keep a first aid kit in the car so that it's handy in an emergency, because you're going to get a lot more use out of that over the years than you ever would a sidearm. So there are different types of first aid kits. The first one is this type that's, I consider this the kind of gimme first aid kit. This was like given to me as a signing up for an event I did. And these are just the little hang them on your belt first aid kits. They're very basic. They're not really equipped to do anything more than handle a surface cut. They have Band-Aids and swabs and stuff like that. They're not really a high-level first aid kit. Only minor things are they designed to handle. All right. So what I suggest that everyone gets is what I call the lunchbox first aid kit. These are your larger first aid kits. This one runs $10. It's made by Johnson & Johnson, so a name we all know. And for $10 you get this big lunchbox first aid kit with pretty much every basic thing you need in your house. So I bought this kit and it pretty much lives in my medicine cabinet, and we pull it out every so often whenever somebody gets hurt. But it stays at my house because it's very large. Now, you could buy one of these and stick it in your car. You could stick it in a rear compartment or under a seat or something like that. The problem with this is if it's too big and it becomes cumbersome and you take it out of your car, it just became useless. It's like the concealed carry guy that never carries his gun because it's too heavy, and then he gets victimized. He didn't have it, he wished he had it, but it just was inconvenient. So if you would find this to be inconvenient to keep in your car, you don't have a big enough place you can stick it and forget it's there till you need it, then I wouldn't suggest putting this in your car. So what I do is I take a quart size Ziploc freezer bag, and I like quart size because a quart size bag all the way filled up will fit in my glove box and have plenty of room for other things. So quart size freezer bag, because the freezer bags are tougher than the regular ones. And then what I did is I went out and I bought a whole bunch of these little plastic bags. They sell them at craft stores. They're for like putting jewelry and thingamabobbers in. So they're at craft stores and they're little tiny bags. They come in really handy to put stuff in when you don't need a big bag. You just need stuff for storage. Small parts go in them really well. If you can't tell, I got quite a garage here. I got all sorts of nuts and bolts and stuff I put in them. So what do I carry in my first aid kit? First off, I carry drugs. That's right, I like drugs. I have ibuprofen in here. I have Tylenol in here. I have stuff for allergies in here. I need to put some like Imodium and diarrhea stuff in here. I don't have any of that. But yeah, so painkillers, antihistamines if you have allergies, and anti-diarrhea stuff is what #1 things you need in your little drug bag, because you're out and about and you have a headache and boom, hey honey, can you reach in the glove box and give me some ibuprofen? Do that all the time. All right. So next thing is, no surprise here, Band-Aids. I take a bunch of Band-Aids and stuff them in this bag. I got everything from the scrape your knee Band-Aid in here, to the cut yourself shaving, to the regular size Band-Aids for cuts on your hands and arms and legs and stuff. So Band-Aids, and with Band-Aids you can't forget the Neosporin. So got a little Neosporin in here, and got a little Visine allergy eyes because I had room in the bag, so I threw that in there too. All right. Also, Antiitch Hydrocortisone Cream. Very useful when you have little kids who get into things that you tell them not to. Hey, don't go over there. Don't get in those bushes. They come back, Daddy, Daddy, I itch. I got a red mark. So, they get into stuff they're not supposed to. You wash it off. You stick a little hydrocortisone cream. They get bit by a mosquito. Put a little hydrocortisone cream in it. This thing runs about $1 at your local drugstore if you buy their brand of it. You know, on the hydrocortisone and on the Neosporin and triple antibiotic, I just buy the store brand because it's a lot cheaper. Bottle's a little bit big for my container use. I might have actually spent a little bit more to get smaller containers of it, but you know, hey, it was cheap, so I threw it in there and I have room in the Ziploc. All right, so the next thing you want to talk about is Bloodstoppers. Okay, so right here we have a nice gauze pad, and if you go and buy a box of gauze pads, they are very expensive, okay? And the goal of a first aid kit is to stop the bleeding in an emergency. It's not to wrap them up and send them on their way and then to keep this gauze pad on for the next 3 or 4 days. No, the point of a first aid kit is if somebody's seriously bleeding, you're going to be calling for an ambulance. So at that point, you just need to stop the bleeding. So instead of spending a ton of money on giant gauze pads, I went in and got hold of some of my wife's feminine napkins. Okay, the nice thing about these is they're designed specifically to absorb blood. They have plastic coatings on the outside, so you just take these, open them up, slap them on the wound and hold them tight to the wound, and they'll absorb the blood and stop the bleeding until the ambulance can get there with their nice stuff. And it's not that sterile, I know that. It's not all in a sterilized package and everything, but the goal of these is it's a cheap man's way of stopping blood flow. And you'll probably never have to use them, but if you did, if somebody's bleeding that bad, they're not going to care. They're going to be like, oh, is that Tampax? Get that off me. They're not going to care because they're bleeding heavily. So again, this is a good thing to throw in there and save yourself some money. Also, if you have a spouse and she needed one in a pinch, you'd have it too. All right, so, or ladies who's watching. All right, so then another blood stopper that I like to have is called Quick Clot, and this is called the sport version. And what that means is it is the Quick Clot powder in a gauze bandage, so that when you open this up and put it on a wound, it's inside a bandage and won't get all the powder in the wound. But it's a very good way to stop large surface wounds and get them to, the blood to congeal, because the powder specifically makes the blood just immediately congeal and you know, turn into scab. All right, so another thing I have is I have the old-fashioned Quick Clot. This is the stuff that they don't sell to civilian people, really. They only want people who know how to use it to have it. And the reason is it's powder. So let's say you have a big, nasty, gashing wound that's bleeding a lot. I can just pour this powder right into it, apply pressure, and boom, you're sealed up and you're not bleeding anymore. It's like magic. The problem is the magic ends when you get to the hospital, because then the doctor takes metal tools and implements and scrapes all of this out of the wound that is just fused with the top layer of your flesh. So this sucks for doctors to take out of people. It is great for keeping you alive to get to a doctor though. So there's the trade-off. Great at stopping the bleeding, horrible experience for you and for the doctor to get the stuff out of you once it's been used on you. So again, I would suggest getting the Quick Clot bandage here that they have the little bicycle on. It's what most people are going to be running across and finding anyway. I think I ordered this from Target.com and had it sent for in-store pickup or pickup at my house. They didn't have it at the Target because it's not that common, but yeah, you can just order this stuff. They probably have this stuff in like mountain biking places and things like that, like outdoor adventure places will have these. They're a little pricey. I think it's $10 for a bandage, but that's why I have one, you know, and the rest are my you know, feminine napkins. So that's how I make my first aid kit. I just basically go in and take the stuff I use on a regular basis, stick it in the Ziploc, and then throw it in the glove box of my car. And if I find myself at some point needing something else, then I go, wait, you know, I should put that in my first aid kit, and then it goes in the first aid kits too, and I have one in each car. So again, I like the Ziploc method of designing my own first aid kit. Let's say you don't have the time or even care to do that, and you have a big SUV and lots of kids. Go buy yourself one of these for 10 bucks or two of these for 20 bucks and stick them in your vehicle so that you always have them with you. They work great in a pinch, and they pretty much have things most people would never think of in them but may use, and they even have little instruction manuals on how to use some of the stuff. Again, you should probably, if you don't really know a lot about first aid, go on other channels on YouTube and learn some about first aid, about how to do certain things with it, because you don't want to be reading instructions while someone's bleeding to death. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was informative. Remember, you are much more likely to use a first aid kit than you ever will be to use a firearm. And so if you are the type of person who even owns a firearm for self-protection and defense and you don't have a first aid kit in your vehicle or in your house, shame on you. You should go and get one of these. So, hope everyone enjoyed this video, and God bless America, and long live the Republic.